Oh, she's sweet, but psycho. Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Good to all around the world. Satish, we getting that echo. Mute your mic. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I just was listening to a song called "Sweet but Psycho." It seemed to be a very apt song for today. I am joined by my Friday night co-host for the weekend review, Mr. Devon Maraj. Good evening, Devon.
Good evening, Philip. Boy, and what a week we have to review. I mean, this week start from midnight Saturday night, and the drama just continues. I mean, we can't script this even if we wanted to. Uh,
No, you couldn't. No, you couldn't. What do you think is the top story?
I think what is not the top story because we
Indeed.
have to start from Saturday night when Robert Leon tendered his resignation to the Prime Minister. The Express put it up on their website. You screenshot it before something happened behind the scenes and they pull it down. Then they put it back up. Um, there was a narrative that came out. It was over some difficulty with Stuart Young. Then it morphed along the way into something to do with water. Then the man who was bathed with water in Beatham was made the Minister of Public Utilities. I mean, and that was just by Monday evening, right?
They have this thing in Roswell in the United States of America where
Area 51.
a flying saucer crash. Remember that?
Area 51.
Area 51. No, but Roswell, they had,
Yeah, Roswell is
the
close to Area 51.
media had published headlines. The army captures flying saucer. And they recall that story. And in 2 days, there was a weather balloon. And I watched that Lee Hunt story morph, as you say, from him and four other ministers who fall out with Rowley over Young into a disagreement over water meters. I want to tell you something. You don't give up your dual citizenship. You don't give up your career and come to work in a government in Trinidad and Tobago and quit over a water meters project. Unless Rowley trying to insinuate that Lee Hunt had his hand in the contract and he was giving himself the contract to install the water meters. I don't know. But I can't see that for being
No, but,
enough reason
but
for you to
Philip,
tender an instant application and then they get you into an emergency conversation. If it was something that was going on about water meters and it just fall apart and you resign, was the emergency meeting gonna say, all right, go ahead? It
but
didn't
Philip,
make sense.
you, you,
Whoever tried to tell
you
that
and
narrative.
no, but you and I have friends who have very good connections in the cabinet. You and I speak to cabinet ministers, and my information, as I'm sure yours will corroborate, is that there was a cuss up. It started on Thursday in cabinet. There was another meeting on Friday with Stuart Young, the Prime Minister, and Lee Hunt. And this is not the first time Lee Hunt wanted Stuart Young to resign. In fact, my information is the second time. The first time is involving Marlene Kudry, not Marlene Kudry, Marlene McDonald, when she was fired, arrested, sorry, or charged, and Mr. Lee Hunt had taken the position. I am told that Stuart Young should have at least been advised by the Commissioner of Police and the Prime Minister should be so informed. And because Stuart didn't provide that advance information, he was incompetent and he should be removed from office. So this is the second time Lee Hunt has butt heads with Stuart Young. So it's not surprising that this is the second occasion. And it had nothing to do with water metering, nothing. But what is instructive, I think we should all pay attention to for those of us outside the PNM, right? Because I'm sure your party and the party I support should pay attention to this. Is that Leon resigned. He tell Rowley, listen, in his letter, as a professional conflict that has arisen between me and the direction this government wants to go, I am stepping down. But however, are still remaining as vice chairman of the party. Are still remaining as vice chairman of the party, which you lead. So we have no professional conflict at that level. And I want to fight a seat too in Labrie or wherever he wants to fight. Right? So he butt head with Rowley. because Rowley believed that Stuart Young, who now come into the party and so on, more loyal to he, and he will resign, but he
As you
remains
talk,
loyal.
as you're talking about that, Devon, I want to ask you a question. The people who uphold Balize House and the PNM, they don't ever feel disrespected when the entirety of the top of the PNM are people that are parachuted into the PNM for all those positions, the contest seats, everything. How come the people in the PNM, can you not join the PNM and work your way up into the ranks and become prime minister? Why is it everything must be somebody pull somebody in at that level and the rest of them on the ground who
Well, I
votes
mean,
that party office? What do they get for their troubles?
well, all of them feel, this is my interpretation, that when Keith Christopher Rowley closed the door PM1, all of them in the trunk, right? They feel they're riding in trunk, right? But I mean, I think the biggest slap in the face of the average PNM supporter is the foisting of Winston Gypsy Peters on the people of Moruga Table, and because I think when it was by Wednesday night, also rumors started abound. All of a sudden, strangely, you almost have to guess if the PNM not didn't leak this themselves to distract from what was happening with Stuart Young and the U.S. ambassador. But we'll come back to that just now. That they leaked it themselves to distract from the conversation. But this is the man who was member of parliament for the United National Congress for Ottawa Mayaro, a cabinet minister, singing Captain, the ship is sinking, and he has been almost in his DNA, he has been anti PNM for his entire adult life. And he is now uh, being told that, listen, boy, we're giving you this PNM seat right now, held by incumbent Lovell Francis, but notice the position of Lovell Francis. He will work with whoever. If it was the UNC, I could tell you, Philip, them fellas like Lee Hunt and Lovell Francis will be outside joining Philip Alexander party or forming an next party or something like that. They not like the PNM. They with the PNM, no matter how you humiliate them on a public stage or you fire them by facts and so on, they genuflect to the party, and the superiority of the party is and the paramountcy of the party takes precedence over individual rights. All other parties, the individual rights seem to be in competition to the party identity. But
But
Gypsy now, you see people now start to respond on the ground, burning tires and saying, no Lovell, no vote. And it's interesting as a marginal seat that Lovell only won by 500 votes or so. And the two polling divisions in Moruga Tableland, Grand Cheve area, the amount for about 800 votes. So if about half of them stay home, that becomes a degree of marginality that is very, very close. But what surprised me a lot is that I remember a conversation, it wasn't a cabinet discussion, it was a discussion in the cabinet where Gypsy was the most adamant person, and I think he said it publicly afterwards on I-95, if I'm not mistaken, that he don't want no PNM working for him in his ministry, and when he did, he was going to fire all the PNM people. And I remember the prime minister talking to him that, when we come into office, you can't just do something like that. Everybody had to earn a living, and because you belong or you support a party doesn't negate your right to work and so on. And Gypsy was clear. You're with the PNM, you're working with the PNM, he ain't want you wrong. And now it is almost a total about face that this man is now in the bosom of the PNM and
but I watch him.
given a seat.
But the one that caught me off guard the most, the man that vilified your father, that gave your father a stroke and sent him to his grave early, you come back to go and help him win an election. Brian Manning, how does that play make sense to anybody?
No, well, you see, if you buy into my hypothesis about the primacy and paramountcy of the PNM over the individual, it makes sense that Brian Manning would not be phase that Raul. You remember that night in 2010 when Manning was chased out of Balize house
They
by
tell the
a
man on
angry,
the shop mango.
yeah, well, angry mob of people who felt that they had lost something so hurtful to their core that they had to chase him out. And remember, he was away from the parliament for months. He signed in sick and so on, even though we were seeing him carnival fet and so on, he was sick to come to the parliament. Remember that? This was the same Patrick Manning, too sick to come to the parliament, but was well enough to go in carnival fets and so on. Eventually, he's crawled out of San Fernando and Sumar Gardens as he lived, and he came back into the parliament where he was given the seat closest to the door, right, by Rowley, and he never spoke really of anything of substance. He was almost relegated to oblivion on the bench. And now you have his son, his firstborn, coming to fight his father's seat in under the same leadership of the man who he and his father was at more. This is something that we could write. We own Trini Game of Thrones. This is
Listen
a Trini.
now. This Raging Bull, the story of the Raging Bull, this is where we got it from. This is when he morphed from the Rottweiler to the Raging Bull.
Yeah. But remember, we have Patrick Mervyn Augustus Manning with his own personal witch, the prophetess, right? Juliana come in and giving him advice, and then he apparently went mad in his last days. And then you have the raging bull providing a challenge to the leadership from the bench and resigned, and he was speaking out against corruption and called a heart and so on from the backbench, vilifying Patrick Mervyn Augustus Manning, you know. And now you have Patrick's own the product of his loins joining Keith Christopher Rowley. I mean, this thing is we can't write nothing better for this, we can write for Hollywood.
Listen, sometimes I listen to what is going on in the politics and I have to double check to make sure. Somebody sent me something and I asked them, this is real? I can't remember what it is now, but I've had that kind of moment so many times. I had to ask, is this Photoshop? You're trying to embarrass, or it's trying to be a joke? I've seen that so many times in the past year in the politics. It becoming, as you say, something that you can't make up. You can't make this up.
No, I mean, some of the most jokiest thing, I mean, your good partner, Brian Stone. Brian Stone gets sued by Rowley for defamation. Brian Stone even hired a lawyer to defend himself. I mean, I had to
But
wonder, yeah,
Anora,
and
what
he get
was the
all
message the
judgment.
judges sending though? Because they live in a country where they have to know nothing works. There is you have the ambassador of the United States of America telling you that your minister of national security lied in the Senate. You have the people of Aruba saying no ship full of fuel ever came to us. So that everything that the prime minister and his minister of national security have said to date have all been lies, naked lies that have been disputed by the other people named in the lies. And there is no organization of state in Trinidad and Tobago to trigger a response and launch an investigation into what is going on in Fuelgate. So when the average person stands up, and if you read the judgment, I'm sure you did, the judgment that Prakash Ramadan got from the Privy Council, when the judges went at lengths to say the average person in their speaking about people in public office, they are not likely to be speaking from the position as a trained lawyer writing a legal brief would be. And that judges need to understand, because I'm telling you, at some point, the judges in our courts have to realize that they are being used to silence actual public interest in events that should be attracting some measure of law enforcement and is not.
But you remember, we have a situation here where the judges. I had to say thank God for the Privy Council because this week I had my own run-in with the courts, trying to get into the daily press briefing of the Ministry of health to ask some questions because there's some of the reporters there that are allowed to speak. I think they're only allowed to speak like astronaut news and so on because they bowl soft questions to the minister, ask him how we feeling and how we making a mask and what we doing to get not get bored and so on. And the judge found that I wasn't a journalist. And then when we tried to get the expedited hearing, he didn't. The Court of Appeal found that didn't merit that. But we got a date for the hearing in sometime October, right? And it is clear that the judiciary is infected with the politics and the race and the elitism of society that judges are taken aside. There was an article, a response by Frank C. Passad, Justice Frank C. Passad regarding JLSC appointments in which he wasn't considered. I mean, you have
You
the Chief
read
Justice.
that? You read
Yeah,
that article? I mean, that was
yeah,
embarrassing to read, and and
yeah.
and so much going on in the actual justice judiciary, and what's going on with the chief justice and all the appointment of judges that had to be cancelled, and lawsuits, and it created lawsuits to the chief magistrate, and for all of this drama, all of this, and the judges in our courts don't see that it is people like you, people like me, people even like Brian Stone that should be encouraged to at least speak out. What happens when the last defense of the democracy, the people, go silent? What happens then?
But the majority of the people silent. I mean, I mean, look at this thing that come out. I think a few hours ago with Jeffrey Azar. I mean, Jeffrey Azar can't come in the country now, right? You let Derek Chin in. I have no problem with that, and I have reasonable belief that we were misled by the Prime Minister when he said that Derek Chin was only allowed in if he had agreed to pick up this woman,
But last
right?
week, when I said that, they threatened to send a pre-action protocol letter for me. And I said, stop using this woman's sickness as the justification.
Yeah,
Because them
that
other
was.
people, what they supposed to do? Go and find a sick person and come in?
But I have from very good grounds that Derek could have done that out of his own generosity. No government had given him any ultimatum that he would only be allowed into, but they feel they have to extract some kind of PR with everything. Everything. Last week, you and I spoke at the same time last week to a guy on the boat in Barbados, right? Tonight on the news, we hearing about 5 people kill themselves. The Trinidad and Tobago nationals are the only people on the boat, right? The HR people in the cruise line company telling the Trinidadian employees what wrong with our country, why it is them is the only country on the planet refusing to take their own nationals that work on this cruise line. And Stuart Young is still a minister today. He had about
No,
four
but
or
the
five
Coast Guard,
editorials.
who went and rescued the Venezuelans, I asked, why don't our cruise people just come off the boat in a lifeboat off Cedros? What the Coast Guard going to do if you're rescuing Venice? You had to rescue Trinis. Or will they
No,
shoot the
but yeah,
Trinis?
no, but it's even worse than that because I spoke to some of those Coast Guard, right? People talk to me as they talk to you, Philip. The Coast Guard went save the people. They were properly outfitted and so on. Nobody have any increase in temperature. Nobody tested positive, but the Coast Guard under lockdown. They can't come out, right? I mean, it's like this government making up nonsense as they go along. It's like they actually have to wait for the Trump press conference every day to figure out what they could thief from Trump to copy and paste for Trinidad. I
You
mean,
mean like the second, you mean like
I mean,
Terrence second wave? The
yeah,
whole
yeah,
of Trinidad crazy with that line. Where the second wave coming from,
yeah.
Terrence?
I see.
Because that's how people
Just
feel.
yeah, I see a
That's how
famous
people,
with that. Just like gunman and everybody
this
say,
one, this one crazier, but Devon, you know, you can't tell what people going to latch on to, but it made them, I guess it empowered them to hear somebody ask a question that they themselves asking. We locked down 2 months now, the airport's closed. We have no coronavirus cases. So where it coming from? Like in Trinidad, COVID-19 playing hide and seek. Where it coming from? It hiding and waiting to be a second wave. I mean, come on, if you're a student of history, you know the second wave from World War One was because World War One ended at the height of Spanish flu, and this and all of the soldiers who were infected or carrying Spanish flu went home and took it home to places that didn't have herd immunity and created a second wave. Where's our second wave supposed to come from? When they open the airports for Caribbean Airlines to start flying again, that was the money. That's why they give Caribbean Airlines money out of the COVID-19 funds.
Not only that, I mean, we don't have a proper accountability for the use of the funds. This government has a open pass to the treasury without any accountability. They have spent as to date close to $300 billion, more than any other previous government in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, right? And COVID-19 is only in the last couple of months, right? So they didn't spend that in the last couple of months. Where has the money gone? What can we point to as their legacy afterwards? Because I really hope that we don't see Keith Rowley
Have they
and Robert Cinnamon.
have they built anything? I mean, $117 million, no, $108 million on President's House, $500 million on the Red House. But have they every administration, Manning built Napa and Sapa and Taruba and Waterfront, all that drama. Kamla built Cuba Hospital. Has this administration built anything?
I don't know what they build. I don't know what they build. We know that they renting a set of properties from Mr. Alwari's friend and family. Um, we know that Mr. Franklin Khan's wife property is rented. We know that Mr. Imbut is building a nice property in Woodbrook. We know that Mr. Sinanan property is Kidonna somehow was, we don't know the price yet for that. I mean, Philip, this was the time to be in the PNM. This was the time to be
No,
in the PNM.
because the time of the greatest recession that we've been through since the 80s, and the economy contracted. How does this government justify the amount of money they spent? And as you say, what is there to show for it? What?
No, they don't have to justify it. Who tell you they have to justify it? You and I may think that that is the normal thing, that they are held accountable for the expenditure, but I know and I know this because it was the former ministry I was in, that farmers are getting back to me that nothing is happening in the agricultural sector. There's closing down, in fact, contraction of it. And when we were speaking about food security, I think 2.5 years ago, the prime minister said we don't have enough land. We can't print nothing here. He giving away land, whatever. He went Ghana and he come back to teach we how to plant yam and provision, right? Now, when we have the entire world locked down and there's a possibility of food insecurity here, that we would people would appreciate what was being said uh, for years by others, and that's being ignored by this government. When we're talking about diversification of the economy, what we had is, if the economy open back, Philip, tomorrow, what we really exporting? What we
But then
really
when
exporting?
everything point says closed down, Unilever closed down. What is going on in Trinidad and Tobago? Where are people going to get jobs? You're talking about that. When the economy opened back, you didn't mind them, you didn't help them, you didn't get them a hamper. What happens when the economy opens back and people realize the company they was working with not there no more? What are they gonna do? They're gonna swing back off Abu. They're gonna put fries in a box. What are
The
they gonna
only
do?
thing, the only thing I vex I closed down yet, boy, is PNM. I don't know why the PNM can't close down.
If
Everything else
if
closing down
you
except
judge the
PNM.
PNM by the standard they judge everything else, Balize House up for sale.
Yeah, we should have foreclosed on that long time. But I'm waiting for the next donations by Sally and Victor Mute Foundation. Only today I see on the news day where a couple, of elderly couple with fixed income can't find food in their house, and they're literally starving in Trinidad and Tobago. I was hoping that the next line I would have read was the Sally and Victor Mute was on spot giving out hampers, but to my disappointment, that didn't happen.
No such
Didn't
luck.
happen. No such
And
luck
it's
at all.
sad And it's sad that we're talking about people's misery because everything that you bring up is somebody in misery. We spoke to Sterling Howell last week, Friday, this time. He's still on that ship tonight. How
Yeah,
does
yeah.
that how does that make sense to anybody? How do you leave somebody on an empty ship, but you could justify bringing in your friends and your finances, or you could justify opening the airport to Delcy and her red box.
No,
How does that add up?
watch out the hypocrisy. You fire Marlene because she was in the company of Berkey, right? Now, Berkey is a man, don't have a charge. He never been charged for anything, never been convicted, as far as I am aware. He has no criminal record or anything like that, right? But you're keeping on for dear life. You're holding on to Stuart Young, despite the fact he was in the company of Delcy Rodriguez, and he bring Delcy to meet you, who have been indicted by the DEA. You're talking about local. Gary charge Delcy, is the United States of America government. An ex-government charge. She had assets frozen in Europe. The countries she meet in Europe and Spain get warned and all kind of thing. But Stuart Young brings shit in your bedroom to meet you with six other man that you say you don't know. They come for the plane ride, right? They come for the ride. They was waiting in the room, drinking sweet drink, right? Sweet drink and control them come for, right? Because they had that in Venezuela. And you
Okay.
fire them. But
Moby,
you fire Marlene, poor Marlene, trying to lose a little weight and things, she say that, right? You fire the woman for come with Berkey. Berkey is a constituent. Berkey was a community leader that Moving Manning create, right? Patrick Moving Manning create that man, as a community. He was in
but,
higher.
but Berkey could be the next candidate, if Juliet Davy don't get the nod. Because Dwayne O'Connor didn't get the nod because of Berkey and them say we're not taking him. So if Juliet Davy don't get it, Berkey himself might step choice out in the ring. What is to stop him? As you just say, he don't have a charge. He will win that
No,
election.
no, but I mean, why it is you remove Marlene for? If Berkey was so untenable, so you telling me they'll see now that have your whole government in a cat's paddle tailspin because you have first time I remember in my life that the American ambassador have to clarify a conversation with a minister.
Hey
Normally
boy,
when
that was a
when you
man.
had remember the days of Sally Cowell? Cowell used to write thing to the papers and take position, but never attack a government minister like how Mandela responded to. And then you have Stuart Young now trying to say the breach. They ain't talk about the breach, but they talk about the breach. Yeah, I mean,
But as
take
you're
all
talking
away for
about,
idiots here.
how come you're giving Asha Javid a pass? How come you're not talking about the fact that she is the only person that has seen this magical clause in this mythical contract? And how you're not talking about the Express that published that article Asha Javid wrote saying that she saw the contract and Aruba saying no contract can exist unless ship no filter. How come you give it a sharp pass?
No, we haven't reached there yet. Faris is the man we had to talk to. Faris come and say he ain't see a contract, but Asha Javid, a mere journalist in Express,
She's
see
not
the
a
see the
major.
contract.
She's not
Well,
a major. Don't watch Asha's slides. She knows what to do, what she had to do to get her stories, and she's doing that. She's seeing a contract. This you can't let this go.
my
Because if
question is
Aruba
how Faris could get up in a press conference where he's trying to encourage the population to riot
because
over the bail amendment, right? No, but Faris get up in this press conference and say that he lost no case, right? It's only Ramdeen, Ram Logan, and Divan lost case, right? He called no other litigant. He called me alone. He called no other lawyer. He just called Ramdeen and Ram Logan, right? So he know that, and the very day before he lost a case in the Court of Appeal against Anand Ram Logan and myself. The next day he lost a case for Jared Ramdeen and the woman in the Cora Hospital that they tried illegally detained, right? I mean, this man is, I think, is a stranger to the truth. He has
Yeah,
lost.
but
He just get so much licks in our courthouse. He like a tassa in an Indian wedding. He just get beat right through.
if he win a case, they would throw a party. But I have to come back to this. Stuart, Stuart is the minister of everything. Faris is the attorney general because Stuart lets him play attorney general for a while. If Stuart wanted to be attorney general today, Stuart would be attorney general. So Faris is
No,
irrelevant.
I
Faris
think
is
Faris more
irrelevant.
interested in
Faris
being.
piloting a bill. Faris piloting a bill that will jail his two children. Illegal weapons, no bail for 120 days. Starting
No, but
Komuto.
that points me that we don't know what we could believe from this government anymore. Because let's as you go back, Faris can identify if them two children is he own or not, right? I don't know if the neighbor passed and he was not home and they resembling the milkman or something like that. So that is why he can't see if it's the children or not. He don't know if it's the children. Remember the boat, the fast ferry, Rohan wasn't telling us the whole story with it. One day come in, one day they come in. Marlene, the prime, they asked the prime minister about if Marlene was sick when they swear her in and stuff like that. He didn't know if she was sick or if, you understand? This government is not only incompetent, but they lie too much. They just lie. They just francoment lie in your face. And their supporters believe it.
But I
These,
want to
these
tell you.
this government can't we can't believe them.
No, but if the rest of Trinidad and Tobago stood up for Trinidad and Tobago, PNM can't win a bingo in this country, you know. The fact of the matter is, too many people don't vote. So it allows the PNM with their minority majority to win an election. But if Trinidadians stood up for Trinidad, PNM is history. But we'll come back to that. I want to still have to talk about this because you can't let go now that the Express may have published the king of fake news because a journalist said that the Express had sight of a contract that Aruba says does not exist. How come that's not the top story in the rest of the media or in Trinidad?
Well, the rest of the media, they don't report on each other, it's like when Carib go on strike. The Guardian don't report on it, You don't hear about that strike at all. So the one newspaper don't really take action against another unless it's so big, I guess, So they could write what they want in the Express, dies on Independence Square. So the Abercrombie Street Guardian do bother with that. That news
Boss,
happening that part of Trinidad. Like when thing happening in South and thing Pinal and Bay, they don't report on it in Port of Spain. That is how they treating the Express. Express come like it in DB and Chagona something. They reporting on that.
brother,
Asha Javika was right what she want.
yeah, but that can't be so because you're passing laws to protect cyber social media from fake news, but you're not passing any laws to deal with the Express and the fake news that they're publishing because the Minister of National Security, who is in the hot seat, fortunate enough to have somebody in his world who is a journalist. Now, I tell you something, eh? If this government don't understand why the young people went so crazy with this TikTok thing, Yamami. The reason, the reason,
They get famous on that way. All over where I see a compilation.
Yamami. The man tell me boy, you make Yamami famous. No, but the reason young people went with this is because they just fed up of the nonsense and they wanted to ask the question and they want to speak out. And I feel that as jaded and as cynical as you could be about the politics at times, I feel that we're in a good place now where especially the young people are concerned. And maybe, because they think that video passed 500,000 views, bro. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
I don't know why. It resonates with them. So I can't take credit for it. Did resonate with them and they made it into something. I looking for
So just now I
where's some
expect to see you.
stories
I expect to see you doing a little TikTok dance and thing, eh? One of them tunes.
I we had a meeting about it, and the party said no. It's like when they said that,
But
they
I
said
think
uh,
use the party, you anoint Satish and all that. Make
no,
a
no,
decree.
no. Boss, this is a deputy political leader post cannot be an elected post. If you are the political leader of a party and you get foisted with a deputy political leader who have problems, and you can't exchange that person because a deputy political leader is a functional election tool to help you spread the message in the party.
I like how you're
So
justifying your undemocratic proclivities.
that's as democratic as it comes. We have
But
three deputy political leaders, and
how much elected?
and
How much
not
elected?
one,
And
no
the
real
political leader,
deputy political
the
leader.
political leader
What is
elected
the
too?
purpose of a deputy political leader in a political
Oh,
party?
hear that.
Elect
Answer me something.
election.
The political leader elected too?
Yes.
By who?
The party,
Or the party?
the party, the party. All of us were interim. We had an election, and everybody got ratified by the electorate in our party. So, but
But
deputy political,
even
how a deputy
even the
political is
even
appointed?
the PNM is elect people. Right? Tell if you had to fix
How
it. Even the
how
PNM is
deputy,
elect deputy political leader
how deputy political leaders appointed in the UNC?
by election. You go up for the position of deputy political leader. You know
But
that?
that doesn't make the sense that you're trying to make it sound, because if you have a deputy in what you do, Devon, it had to be
Mm-hmm.
somebody that could work with you in what you're trying to do. If you end up
No,
with
but
somebody on a
you see,
different agenda for you,
forget. I mean, if you strip away the Trinidad examples we using of PEP and PNM and UNC, and if it is we subscribe to the democratic philosophy that the will of the people is expressed by whoever they appoint by way of election in an organization or government or whatever, right? And the people voted for Mr. X to be deputy. The fact that Mr. Y, who is the substantive office holder of the political leader, or who office holder A, may run into problems. That is not an excuse
no,
to.
I hear what you say, but I want to tell you this, and this is what I'm trying to get you to understand. In every other post, a party does not need deputy political leaders. There's nothing in the constitution that says if the political leader dies, the deputy political leader takes over. Rowley was the deputy political leader of the PNM. In fact, Rowley was a backbencher and he get propelled to being political leader overnight. So it
I
is
think
not that it's I just want to say, it is not that it stands to reason, and I'm telling you that the real purpose of a deputy political leader is to assist the political leader in getting the political purposes of that whoever is in charge at the time to get that out to the public. If you have
would I
deputies
like I'd
that
like a next word for secretary then. Your
assist,
mama guy, your mama guy, the
assist
people.
no party needs a deputy political leader. None. Because there's no other purpose for a deputy political leader but to help the political leader further the agenda of this administration in the party.
But by
No
by
other,
that
no,
no by that definition, every office holder in your executive supposed to advance your political agenda,
yeah,
which is
but they
more or less.
also have, you're correct, but they also have, and I'm telling you this, they also have responsibilities outside of the political leader. The political leader is not the treasurer, the political leader is not the head of finance, the political leader is not the chairman of the party. And those are elected positions because those positions have responsibilities in the party. And the whole party is supposed to have one common ideology and one common philosophy and one common agenda. And if an office holder is running afoul of that, there are ways and means to challenge that and bring them up for discipline and other things. But I'm saying to you, a deputy political leader of every other post, a deputy political leader only serves the political leader and to advance that.
I find
Think
that
it
song
through.
into autocratic there. But if it is your structure, and I'm not disagreeing with your structure, that you feel the all other positions need to be elective, save and except for the deputy political secretaries or leader, as the case
Who
may
is
be.
who's appointed by the political leader. And I'm saying to you,
I have a
their
different view. That
office,
is your.
no, but their office now they could be people who are elected to other office as well. But the title deputy political leader cannot be an elected position because it doesn't serve the party. It serves the
So,
political leaders.
but it's getting more interesting. So you telling me Satish now, he could be your party communications officer and your executive, and also be co-opted as your deputy political leader.
Yes, because
You
it's
want to
two
kill the
different.
man? You want to kill the man with two work? You are slave master, but you are colonizer.
That's why we
You
have three.
you want Satish to run your social media and be the political leader too, boy. You're bad boy.
Running pep media. He running pep media, not just social media. We working on right now. We building a social
Nah,
media team.
Satish should be
But
asking for a raise.
he asked for a dental plan. He
Really,
asked for a
really
dental.
fucking good.
No, listener. But you take we way off the beaten path. I
No, no,
wanted to
no.
ask you.
I don't think it's off the beaten path. I think it's instructive that people understand how political parties operate internally. What sort of
Absolutely.
rigorous and robust conversations happen internally to
So
arrive.
then
You know?
let's have this right because the Progressive Empowerment Party wrote a constitution and we're ratifying that constitution right now. So I want you to tell me in other political parties that you are aware of, what is the substantive role of a deputy political leader?
I have a constitution here somewhere, and I could look for that UNC on somewhere here. But
Very good.
I don't memorize I don't memorize constitution. I think of
No,
parties.
but it's like acting prime minister.
No, but those things
Do
are
you think
normally
that
defined. Those things are defined. Now, I think the acting prime minister position was relevant in days before, where communications wasn't as good as it is now. Because when a prime minister had to travel to the next country, for example, and a decision need to be taken internally, you have to write him a telegram that might take 2 weeks to reach him, and a decision had to make now what you're going to do. Right? But right now, if the prime minister in Russia, Moscow, you pick up your phone, you call him, or you WhatsApp him, or you Zoom conference with him, you can get him.
even
He can make
you're making my point? Even something as important sounding as acting prime minister is not relevant.
decisions. But there's no provision in our constitution for any post called acting prime minister.
At no point in time.
No, as far as I could check my constitution. I don't think we have a constitutional position called acting prime minister. It's a convention. Will you ever hear the acting prime minister of the United Kingdom is? Who is that? Who is the acting president of the United States when he travel?
No, but if the president of the United States is incapacitated in any way, the vice president becomes the president. That's
Yes,
their
there's a provision. There's a
right.
constitutional provision for the incapacity of the president. It goes to the vice president, it goes to the speaker of the house, it goes to the chief justice. You have a congressional, yeah, there's a constitutional provision for that, right? But I'm telling you, when he leaves now, he's not incapacitated. So Donald Trump leaves today and flies to Port of Spain to talk to Keith Rowley about what's going on with Venezuelan oil crisis and Iranian tankers oil coming down here. Who is the acting president? That don't happen in real
And
countries.
I'm saying
It
to
it
you, I agree, and you're
it
making my
never
point, and
happens.
that's what I'm saying to you. There's a difference between politics and governance, and I know that we don't make that line known in Trinidad and Tobago. Politics is either trying to get into office or to maintain your hold on office. But governance is that you are in office and there are roles that you have to play in the steering and managing of the country.
That
And def-
in Trinidad, that is a strategy to mamagaya man. So Rowley flying out the country, he say, Imbut, you go act for a little while, right? And make Imbut let the rest of the chickens in the roost. No, Imbut is the head, is the head cock inside her ear, right?
But you know,
That compensating for his height. You saw the video today with Nazmullah trying to get him man to answer a question. I mean, I don't know how he's win a vote. This man is the most unpersonable politician I've ever seen. Here is this cannabis activist inquiring about when would farmers be allowed to grow cannabis legally, having regard to the fact that the act was passed and there's a joint select committee to look. She goes to him outside the Red House today, and he does like if she's breeze, not talking to her, disregarding her. And I mean, he has a track record like that all the time.
park in Glencoe. Someone sent me a message with a picture of a house on fire or a bush fire. Is it a bush fire? How does a fire truck respond to our cry for help with no water and worse, no hose or pump to use pool water even? How? Can someone explain to me? How can the firemen tell me they no longer have access to the helicopter and bucket system that used to dip the water out of the ocean that was previously used to fight fires like this one? The Ministry of National Security has it, he said. We haven't had water in our line for more than 2 weeks, and my husband and son used the little that we had to wet around the fence. Then these pictures I'm posting here happened, and I sent out an SOS for my neighbors to please help us. We couldn't do it alone. Thank God for our neighbors and pool water and a bucket brigade to the rescue. I could have lost my husband, son, and house today. I'm numb, and this post may be badly written, but I need to write down some of this. This is from a lady called Luan Ferreira Patterson at the park in Glencoe. Boss, that's round the corner from where Rowley used to live. That's up the street from where Rowley office as member of parliament is.
Hmm.
The park in
Rowley,
Glencoe. Park in Glencoe is multi-million-dollar houses. There's a big pappy area where when Rowley said, I don't know where the rest of you were when I was walking around my area and I went to Bayshore and I went to Glencoe and La Hoquette and Goodwood Park. He never called none of the poor areas, none of the real PNM areas. He had touched Bagatelle, Covine, Rich Plain, Sanganga, La Puerta. He had Mason Factory Road, Abipujat, Big Yard, Scorpion, Hague Street, Point Kumana, nothing. He only call them big shots places. That's the kind of place Rowley's walk around for election time. Miss
you
Ferreira
blame
had
him?
to realize.
If you walk there, they might rob him because they don't know him. Right? He, pro- he probably don't go there, and then when he go there in he Prado with black
He
Prado
knocking
roll up.
door after door after door, and they was telling him about O'Halloran. You can't remember that speech that big speech in the parliament. Watchmen, he good, you know. That one he good, you know. You listen to him
Mhm.
talk. He
No,
good,
he
you
is.
know.
You feel it easy
That
to
man
fool
could
all
talk
them.
ill.
You feel it easy to fool all them people to vote for he on a regular basis. The man had to be good. He make Robert Lee Hunt resign over Stuart Young and this thing, you know.
No, but
And
he,
Robert Lee Hunt still decide he gonna be vice chairman of the party and still want to run for a seat. That is
this
the kind of
man,
brain, you know.
I have heard video, audio of this man telling his supporters that Trinidad economy can't diversify. Stop talking about diversification. It can't diversify. And everybody clap. He tell them they don't have enough land in Trinidad and Tobago to grow food. Stop talking about growing food and everybody clap. It's like a Jim Jones something going on in this PNM. It's a real cult. Because there's educated people. Lee Hunt is a banker. These people have schooling.
But these people want power, that's it. They want power. And you see, the rest of them who clapping feel that when Rowley jump in PM1, all of them in the backseat too. That's what happened. They get some kind of gratification knowing that their party is in power, even though that they ain't getting nothing. In fact, there's an analysis on a plantation economy. If you look at the plantation, people who are living were in substandard housing. They had just subsistence allowance. They were in rundown areas. Uh, how is that different on the PNM stronghold, right? Rowley and the PNM is the new masters, you know. and they want to keep everybody in a kind of plantation mindset.
Now I think overseas, I don't think that the massa, massa pulling them strings. Massa
No,
is
but
the one that make the
if you
billions
watch
of
out
dollars.
all the PNM areas compared to all the opposition areas, when Chaguanas is now considered almost like a town in a city in Trinidad, Cuba is not far behind. DB Pina out of office because these people had to rely on themselves. They couldn't depend on no government helping them. They were the phrase rural neglect came about it. Compare that to the dependency up to now.
But
Lavantel still
I'm
suffering.
not wrong, I'm telling you. I grew up in a country and I grew up in West Trinidad and we used to refer to it, not understanding why, we used to refer to it as a bush. And no development was done in the rural parts of Trinidad and Tobago, or I think south of the Caroni Bridge, that to match the kind of money that was spent in the rest of Trinidad and Tobago. And it was only when Bastio Pandey came into office that money started to really find its way down south.
No, but look at Point Lisas. They talk about what Eric William do with Point Lisas. You know, when they build Point Lisas, they had a housing project there that they bring workers from Lavantel and Beatum to live there so that they would get the jobs in Point Lisas. That's why you have Lisas Gardens, Point Lisas Gardens, right outside the industrial estate. So they wouldn't have to hire the opposition supporters from outside. That's what the PNM is saying. In Arima here, Malabar, which was predominantly voting for the opposition at the time, that is where they put the Malabar housing project for a reason. That is how PNM is think. PNM don't think country, they think party.
And how is that not misbehavior? How is that not a crime? How is it not using public funds for political reasons? How is that not a criminal act?
I think you'd have difficulty to have a lawyer take it up and fight argue that in the case because where's the law they're breaking?
But
Our
there should
government,
be a law preventing you using public funds for political gain. Don't you agree?
you have to go way back then. You have to overhaul the whole system because the very fact
I
that we have these boundaries that really are carved up along party line to give the PNM as almost a built-in majority in almost every election. That is, I think, immoral. I mean, when you take and my mind just run on this, we give Tobago $50 million for COVID-19 relief, right? To help hotel and so on. So all the hotels and guest houses in Tobago, all of them, they are given $50 million, right? Good or bad as our next argument. But the Prime Minister house in Tobago, we give that $22 million. So one house for one man going occasionally gets half the value for a whole industry, a whole sector. And not a Tobagonian say I would.
but
When
then
the
you
sea
were
bridge
in
when the sea bridge
government, didn't you?
when the sea bridge
Say it
had
again.
collapsed, when the sea bridge had collapsed, how much protest you see in Scarborough? How many Tobagonians were making their voices heard about their businesses being affected and so on? How many Tobagonians? And I had myself and a couple other voices. Why? Because everybody and the dog have a job in the THA.
Devant, my point to you were in government. The fact that all of these things could take place and there be no system, why didn't you raise your voice then? Didn't you think that it needed? Didn't you have a role where you could? Was it possible for you to suggest? Can we
I
put
think,
this in place?
let me tell you something. It was not possible at the time because remember, you're in government, but you're not in government in a nebulous way. You were given a ministry in which you were charged to administer. Now, when you take up your ministry, so take for example, if they give you Ministry of Works and Transport tomorrow, when you walk in that ministry, you realize a lot of the problems needed to be fixed. You had to hit the ground running, and then the expectation for the Kamla Prasad administration was so high in terms of delivery that you couldn't be bothered with some of the larger issues
Right.
of the structure.
But
The structure.
but you're talking about the executive, and this is a good argument for the separation of the legislature from the executive because it's the legislature that had to put these things in place. You're talking about ministries and getting the actual job done on the ground, fine. But they
What
had
you're talking about, there's a fundamental shift in the constitutional framework where we move away from a Westminster system as we envisage it now to a more presidential system because here we have the executive and legislative who has been one and the same, right? And that's the problem, and I agree with you. I think the MPs, members of parliament, that's all they should be. Members of parliament. The cabinet and ministers should not be anywhere in the parliament doing anything like that. So the parliament could hold them accountable in a kind. But that could work in Westminster where you have 300-400 people and even the backbench of the government voting against the government because it's so big. But in this banana republic we have here with only 41 and one in the whole parliament, everybody know everybody and they're related and it's friend and it can't happen.
no.
So you have to move into a more congressional system.
As you touched that though, but Timothy Hammersmith has an end run around that, and Timothy Hammersmith because I asked Timothy, why 35,000 people make a constituency? He said that's just an arbitrary number. It's not a rule. It could be 10,000. We could have 140 MPs. We could have 140 MPs in the House front bench, back bench, and all of the drama that comes with it. But it would start to give you more of a chance of drilling down in this first past the post race, where you would have to win 71 seats to get a razor thin.
I don't like the first past the post. I prefer a mixture with the proportional representation that will
But
allow for smaller
you're right.
parties
You're
to have
absolutely
a very
correct.
big
But
parliament.
that is the ideal. But what he is saying is that requires such an overhaul that the best way forward now is to bite off pieces like what we're talking about here. Separate the legislature from the executive. You could do it. It might be clunky, but you could do it. I mean, we have a local government that we don't need. We could create anything we want. But if you increase the representation and dilute it on the ground, all 140 can be ministers. So even if you don't get to change that in the constitution, there will be people who their member of parliament are just a member of parliament.
You working for a contractor that want to build over the Red House already? Where do people go fit? Somebody go get some $1 million contract there again with that. But I hear what you're saying with the expansion, I mean, it's worth exploring. But I mean, who would have the political will to engage that?
And
You
that
know,
is all. And that's always the question. And every guest that comes on the show, including political scientists, I ask them, is there a way to fix Trinidad without first having office? Do you have to win in this system to change the system? Because, Devon, joke and fun aside, that's all we're trying to do. That's literally all
but
we're trying to
yeah,
do.
even if you have the will, right? Let's say
But
right
you
now,
understand, that's the
let,
purpose of there being a progressive empowerment party. Because all it wants to do, and I'm saying this to you not as a political plug, I'm saying to you, we could talk till we blue in the face. If we don't create a political vehicle for you and Vernon de Lima and Clyde Weatherhead and Peter Taylor and everybody who wants to come to something and work together and get the thing to fix, what's the point of the talk?
no, yeah, there's a, I, first of all, I'm not looking for no political office. I happy with being a critic, right? And there's a role for that in any society. So, but unless you don't have the office, how are you going to effect the change? How are you going to
Where they want a cybercrime law to shut you up from criticizing, who gonna publish you? The Guardian and the Express? Who?
no, right now I do depend on them. You don't depend on them. So what are you talking about? We don't.
But if Stuart Young and Faris Arawi have their way and that cybercrime bill pass, you think you're writing the way you're writing now? They want to criminalize democracy. That's what they're trying to do. And the average person in Trinidad and Tobago so numb to the process that you tell them the cybercrime bill, you tell them the chicken plucking bill. They can't tell the difference and they're not motivated to find out.
No,
Mrs.
but
Ferreira, let me say
well,
this.
not,
Let me just say this. The reason I read Mrs. Ferreira's post is because today it became real for Mrs. Ferreira. She heard it. She's been hearing people talking that Trinidad nothing do work. But she lives in the park in Glencoe, a nice area, a nice house, they save, and things okay. Today, she found out that it does not work. That she's living in a colony, in a broken country, and that today a bushfire could have wiped out her family and her home. And she's numb. And there are people in this country who live that, who write me and write you and reach out to others and say, my house, I lose everything last night. And I need a help. I mean, we deal with that every day. In a country where nothing works. Devon, you and I, lead, people like you especially, lead the national conversation, guide the narrative, focus the process, and I agree with you. But if this wasn't an election year, you think we get any responses we would be getting now?
yeah. No, don't underestimate yourself. You and I writing and talking for the last 5 years. I mean, 2 years ago when I bust out Rowley number and think, didn't I have election in the air? When I bust out
Yeah,
Stuart, when I bust
that's
out
a
Darrell
big
Smith
thing.
loving up on the couch, that was that was no election. We
Yeah,
get
but you
plenty
see,
traction.
those are. I don't think that our democracy should be reduced to you and me and others busting marks alone. That's all I'm saying to you. You bring a lot to the table. I sat in the parliamentary gallery and watch you frustrate Paris with that Alwari because I wanted to ask you, you really can't pronounce the man name because he was forever correcting you, Alrawi. You remember what I'm talking about? You would do
But
that deliberately.
yeah, so I mean, they just mash up every Indian name in the mouth. They can't pronounce it, right? But there's one time come on, mama guy, we had to pronounce. Nah, I not on that dotishness boy, Philip. You can't pronounce my name. It's not Maraj and all kind of thing. But you're going to meet Mondelo. You're standing up in the front of the mirror 2 hours before and twisting up your whole mouth to learn to spell the name and pronounce it. My name, you ain't know the difference between Eid and Diwali after 60 something years. You don't want to celebrate Indian arrival, is arrival. And this all this sort of dotishness. Yeah, and you want to come and tell me about Alwari and you son of the prophet. Look, don't get me
The
started on that one.
East Indian community, are you still, is there still a need for you and the work that you did in Gopio? You were in Gopio, right?
President, yeah.
And you were the president of Gopio. And what was the follow-on organization?
ITech.
ITEC. And you broke away from Gopio with ITEC. What was the deal with that?
No, well, what happened is Gopio International was lobbied by what I call them collaborators here with the PNM. And basically, they came down the president. Now, Gopio is a United Nations recognized institution. It's a global with chapters all over the world. And they came down to Trinidad and they met with Patrick Manning. And Manning complained that the local chapter was giving him too much of problems and they appointed somebody else whose first job was to promise fidelity to Patrick Manning, and they got a check for coming from the Ministry of Community Development for some bogus function they was having, and I parted ways with them. I mean, they parted ways with me, but that didn't stop the work that was happening.
Is there still whole Constituent minority drama and all that relegation that took place? Because people don't understand that the political racism was for a purpose and that purpose was hegemony and treasury control. And that if you marginalize,
I think there's still that happening, but it's happening at a much more sophisticated level now. It's happening, I think, dressed up in a tuxedo, and it's not in the same crass and crude way, but it's still happening nonetheless. But there are other issues which I think affects us all, regardless of ethnicity and geography, which my attention is now directed towards, and I leave that for what I used to do for others who unfortunately have not taken up the same degree of enthusiasm that I had. Remember when the kidnapping was happening all over, and me and Gopio had a conference in the Wali Nagar, and as a result of that, the first police post to deal with kidnapping was set up in Chaguanas, and that is because we provided the statistical data. We didn't know who the perpetrators of the crime were because that the police never shared with us. But based on content analysis of media reports, we could have showed that 90% of the victims were all Indians, where they were located, and that was able to convince the then police to respond. Similarly, with in the Trinity Cross issue, Indian arrival, the funding. I mean, a host of things that is now relegated to history.
but I want to tell you, I mean, there's a role for every type of activist in a country, especially a country that wants to call itself multi-ethnic and plural. But we do that for the ad agencies and we do that for the Carib ads. But in reality, people live marginalized lives in the rural areas and on the outskirts of the city. The lack is mirrored. I mean, some have access to different things, but the lack is mirrored, and maybe it's time now for a focused approach like you bring to the conversation on behalf of everybody on the bottom, that mass of about 800,000 people that are left behind from everything. But that's a conversation for another time. The hour has
Look,
flown.
look, look, look at something that happening now, right? You have these grants, food grant and salary grant and rent assistance grant and so on. But who really benefit from that? I am talking to people. People are not. I'm seeing the government saying that they spend so much $1 million on grants and so on. But I have not met a single person who have applied that have been successful. Only just now I got a message that the guy, one person messaged me telling me that they had to go through this hoop and that hoop, and TT Post had to come and make them sign something. It had to go back to the office, and next week they might get a rent assistance grant. So suppose they don't have a understanding landlord, and I've met people whose landlord want to put them out because they're not paying rent. But Camille, what does Camille care? She is not paying her rent. She probably have some nice house somewhere or the other. The wigs pack up nice. The children there, thanks to the fertility help, you know. So everything set for she. She don't need help. She don't need the help, right? But people who need the help, and now let us say that there will be some people who act unscrupulously and take the money, and they may not have been fired. Tell me something, Philip. $2,500 will bankrupt the country. 1,500. If a man taking $1,500 in a food card, it means that they're hungry. They're at the lower end. Our poverty level is so low that we have a counselor being accused of taking a bribe for $1,500. That is to tell you how low we are in a constant state of limbo here. Every side want to see how low they can go. So if
That's it.
somebody
Somebody said that it showed all the talk about how successful the economy doing, all the Moody's and all this drama. Within 1 week, we had a lot of people that were desperate for food. Within 1 week of the economic shutdown.
Well, we live from paycheck to paycheck. I call them the working poor. We have people who are the working poor, and unfortunately, most of them are public officers, public servants. Why do you think our police will take a bribe for? A policeman working for about $9,000, 10,000. He reading a drug lord. He have about $55,000 in his shoes, and that police had a study about how he buying school book and thing for child and pay rent and all this kind of. we're not compensating people properly. We expect them
We
to
know,
do jobs.
and I think, and I want to tell you, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we really run out of time, and we need to come back to those things too. I mean, joke and fun aside, there's a lot that you have that needs to be discussed, and I think we have to also use these shows and others like it to get to that. I want to thank you, as usual. The Friday nights have become my most enjoyable show. I look forward to it, and well, you know the drill. Take as much time as you need.
Yeah, yeah. Why be sure? Where the second wave coming, boy? Your mommy. That is the line of the week, classic week. I think we look forward to the next episode because we don't know what will happen in this coming week. Um, Tomorrow is Saturday. I expect that we might get a resignation or two. I don't know. I hope to be launching an online newspaper publication. The name is the 99%. We represent the views of everybody else. That might be coming out as early as Sunday or as late as Wednesday. I'll let you know. So
Well,
if
if
you
you like,
want to,
I
I,
dabble a little bit in some writing.
I want to extend that to you. That if you want to subscribe or anybody else, 500 words. We want to keep it tight. So it's open. Email me. The 99% identify with the majority.
I liking that. Yeah, everybody. Well, thank you, and I'll talk to you later or tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thanks.
Trinidad and Tobago, that's where we leave you this Friday on Plain Talk, the weekend review. We try to make it light because it's a Friday night, and we used to have the Friday night line. That's what this show replaced. And the Friday night line used to be a little lighter. Is it really Friday? You know, I check my phone. Every day is day because it feels like one long day since about the 11th of March. Yeah, today, 24th of May. 22nd of May, we're running out of year. Trinidad and Tobago, this is not an easy time to be anywhere. Brazil can't dig graves fast enough. Coronavirus is with us, COVID 19. We have to treat it with kid gloves. But I think we've gotten to the place we were supposed to be when we made the proclamation on the 31st of January that there was a virus that could kill people heading our shores. Our airport closed 2 months now. If we keep it that way, and if we could secure the rest of our borders finally, I mean, if we could secure the nation, just secure it, keep it secure, open up the rest of the economy. Let the people interact with each other. Keep the outsiders out. If you come to Trinidad and Tobago physically, be prepared to be quarantined for 14 days. And I know everybody have a different view of what's the truth and what's reality. But if we bet that it's all fake, pick the members of your family you don't mind losing for that bet. People have died. People are dying. Not as much as murder, not as much as cigarette smoking, and all those arguments. I've been making those arguments too. But a life is precious, and every single life that we can save is important. So let's work to save those lives. Our economy, open the economy. Tourism does nothing for Trinidad and Tobago of any real value right now. So we could lose that for a little bit. Keep the airport closed. Anybody want to leave Trinidad, leave. But nobody coming back. And let me tell you, do not start back up Caribbean Airlines. Do not put our pilots to work. Do not put our flight attendants to work. If you want to go Canada, let Air Canada come and pick you up. If you want to go to America, let Air America come and pick you up. Trinidad and Tobago dodged the carnival bullet, but I haven't been to World Odometer for a while. Let me check and see what the numbers are like. I just want to see. I haven't been here for a while. Coronavirus. 5,301,800 cases. 339,922 people have died. 2,158,000 have recovered. Of the active cases, there are 2,803,401. 2,758,817 or 98% are in mild condition. 44,584 are serious or critical, 2%. But you don't want to be in that 2%. I don't know if we had any real serious or critical condition patients. We had 8 deaths. You don't want to be in that. You don't want to be in that at all. Brazil doing bad. Brazil has lost 21,000 people. 99 deaths per 1 million people. America has lost 295 people to every million persons. Spain 612, Spain 536, Italy 539, France 433. Listen, the interconnected world will have to be put on pause for a while. We need to ship and quarantine what we ship in and sanitize what we ship in, but the world travel, that had to stop. We have to chill until we get a handle on this. And I believe that we should not open the airport, but we should go ahead and open the rest of the economy because it's unfair to them. We are a long time away from having from our last confirmed case. So I think that we're in a place now where we could actually do this, and I think we should do this because we are destroying people's lives and their businesses as we go along, and that's not fair. Tomorrow, well, I blighted last week because I said that I'm taking a break for the weekend unless they do stupidness, and then the whole weekend went up in smoke. So I'm cautiously optimistic about getting a little break this weekend, but the Progressive Empowerment Party is still here, building, growing, welcoming new members, signing up new members. If you want to go to our website, peptt.com, you could sign up right there. You can make a donation right there. If you would like to get involved with the party and you want to serve at some level or capacity of the party, then you could message me directly. You can message Felicia Holder. Today, we added Satish Ramsaran as a deputy political leader together with Lemma McLeod Wilkinson and Anthony Defoe. And we are going forward. And it is our intention to do everything that we need to do, what we set out to do to rescue this country. A lot of people have different agendas. A lot of people have different roles. Some people are just here for the noise. Progressive Empowerment Party was created to make Trinidad and Tobago a better country. And if you want that and you would like to help us do that, welcome aboard. Also, finance and donations, very important. And if you would like to assist with that, you could message Felicia Holder, reach out to her, 769-4590. If you want to be added to the WhatsApp broadcast, we have a WhatsApp broadcast for in case ever there is a complication with the Facebook platform. And the WhatsApp broadcast is, you can message me, send me a WhatsApp. Don't send me a text. Don't send me a private message on Facebook. WhatsApp me, 268-22110. And all you need to put in the message is your name, and you'll be added. Yeah? So, enjoy yourself tonight, Friday night. Stay safe, stay home. And until next time, stay safe, Trinidad and Tobago.